Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go out to thrift stores, or sometimes I go to estate sales, and I'm usually looking for things that kind of appeal to me personally, or that I think you guys might like, and then I take them home, try and find out everything I can about them, and then tell you guys about them. And here's what I've got to say. Oh, you guys can see this very well. This is quite a large, well, it probably shows up a little bit larger on the camera than it does in real life. I don't think it's actually that wide in person. And again, I just have very small hands. This is a bowl, and it really is quite an astonishing bowl. And I'm pretty sure that you can't quite see the iridescence about it, but it really is a fantastic design. I'm going to try and be very careful with it as well. It's a little bit easier to see that iridescence on the underside, and we do have a mark. I'll get to that in a second. Just want to be careful with it now. If you can actually hear my hand rubbing against that, it is rough, and it feels incredibly light. Like, it feels a bit like charcoal. If that makes sense. It's like the feel and the sound of charcoal is a bit like that, and that's kind of related to how it was actually made. But again, something that we'll get into in a minute. I'm just going to measure it up. It is 10 inches across, and it's actually exactly 10 inches across, and just about 2¼ inches high. So it's nice. I mean, it's very much a decorative bowl. This is not part of a set. This is like a once-off, like, art piece. And it really is rather fantastic. I don't know if this is kind of a bit tricky to see, but you can see that this is quite rough, and this part in here has been glazed and glossy. And just about see the same on the flowers, a little bit. It is really, really very unusual. So I bought this for $4 in a thrift store, and I specifically picked it up because I knew as soon as I held it that it was something really special. That, like, it is definitely art pottery. Now, Vancouver, if you don't know it or whatever, has an amazing kind of ceramic art scene. It's like, if you've ever actually been to Vancouver, if you've ever been to Granville Island, you'll know that there's like basically dozens of ceramic studios and ceramic artists there, and essentially all that they do is just go and create some incredible art pottery in dozens of different styles. When I actually got to Vancouver first, one of my friends here was a ceramic artist, and through her I actually met a few other ceramic artists as well. So I kind of got to know a very small bit about kind of you know, just ceramic art in general. So part of the reason that I got this is that I knew it as soon as I picked it up. It's Raku, and Raku is just a particular style of like throwing pottery, and there's a lot that actually goes into how it's actually done. I'm going to link the Wikipedia article for Raku in the description if you want to find out more about it. The long and short of it is that you take the piece, you fire it at high temperatures, and then cool it very fast. Like, you essentially take it out from the kiln when it's red hot, and then cool it outside of the kiln. This is not normal. Normally you'd actually just leave it in and then cool it slowly, if I understand pottery correctly. I'm sure I'm not getting that quite right, but essentially there's only two things that I know about Raku. One, it's beautiful. Two, it's incredibly difficult. Like, it's very, very tricky, and more often than not the pieces will just shatter or break because it's just that difficult. It's incredibly difficult. There's one of the ceramic artists that I knew in Vancouver. She actually moved back to Montreal a while back. She was a Raku artist, and I have one of her pieces, and it's essentially, a lot of them I think would look exactly like this. They have this incredible iridescence and this incredibly distinctive and unusual finish, and you always see this carbonized, unglazed base. It's like a thing or whatever in Raku pottery. It's like the thing that's not glazed, it will be black because they whip it out and essentially it gets burned by being like cooled so fast. And again, there's chemistry involved. I definitely recommend reading the description. Read the Wikipedia article to find out more about the actual process, a lot of which I don't fully understand. But this is just, I would just know this. I know that I see this, and I see this kind of, this feel of like this carbonization. That's Raku. So when I saw this, I was like, yeah, that's beautiful. That's art pottery. It's Raku. It's lovely. It's got to be by a local artist. I decided I had to have it. And it turns out that, yes, I was right. So the signature that we've got, it says Braemar. And of course, we have to go and find out who that is. Thankfully, that we've got information in this case. And by the way, I bought this for $5, which is kind of about what I'd pay for a very nice art pottery bowl in a thrift store. So first of all, here's a little bit about Raku. Raku ware. It's actually originally a Japanese technique, and there's a lot of information here about like the history of it and everything. Definitely recommend it, especially the stuff about chemistry. It's very interesting, and it talks about like how they actually achieve all of these effects. But anyway, this is the person that we're interested in. Okay, this is Kevin Wright, and he made this bowl. Okay, and I'm going to link the description, like this article, sorry, down in the description as well. So Kevin Wright actually he owned a studio. It was called Braemar Pottery, and he was working for something like 20 years or something, being a potter and being internationally renowned for being very good at Raku. Like this is like his thing, and this was his style. This beautiful kind of iridescent and this kind of Art Nouveau kind of look or whatever. This was his thing. And then in 2010, he closed up shop and decided to become an entrepreneur, and I think he opened a coffee shop. But he was local to, like, when he was actually working, as far as I know, he's still an entrepreneur now. He's just doing other stuff. Like when he was actually working as a potter, like he was doing a lot of this kind of stuff, and he was actually local to Vancouver. He was on Vancouver Island, as far as I know. So it wouldn't be unusual for his stuff to just show up around Vancouver itself. So what does this stuff actually look like? And the answer is, it is something else. It is incredibly beautiful. There's a lot of this kind of style, this kind of like there's actually a really nice one. You can see the birds there where he's kind of painted the design on and then glazed the pieces inside. Kind of a little bit similar to this, except this is far more elaborate. And he did like everything. It wasn't just these bowls. There's like a few different examples of the things he did. He did pots, and he did like little dishes, and he did really fine art pottery. Now we're getting away from that now. I have seen a couple, like I don't think I've ever actually seen his work before in a thrift store. But he's definitely shown up around, like his pieces just kind of randomly show up every once in a while around like eBay or Etsy or whatever. So he must, I mean, he was working for 20 years. You'd think there'd be more of it around, and yet here we are. So basically, once we have all this, like he's not making any more of this. And I bought this for $4, like $5. How much is it actually worth? And the answer to that is, I'm not entirely sure, because it's kind of tricky to find comparable listings. My best guess is that if this was listed for sale, it would probably be somewhere between $80 to $100. And that's Canadian, so maybe like $60 to $80 US. It would be fairly pricey, because essentially because it is Raku of incredible quality. Like it really is lovely. That gold just shimmers. Like the effect of everything is really beautiful. You can see how each of these stems has a slightly different, like that kind of spotted kind of glaze, as opposed to the copper or whatever on the inside. Like you can definitely see that there's so much going on with Raku. I think that's probably the reason why people like it so much. There is so much going on with it, and when you get a nice piece or something that works out really well, it's just worth it for the interest, for just how intricate it is, for how nice it is. Regular pottery, regular kind of, you know, very nice porcelain, it kind of doesn't really compare. If you really want art pottery, like Raku is where it's at. Anyway, I'm very glad that I found this. I've actually already got it listed on Etsy. I'm sure that someone is really going to love it as well, because it really is a very special thing. And yeah, I think if you're into Art Nouveau and, you know, also like art pottery, this is definitely for you. So this is my small joyful thing for the day. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.